What up, what up, what up? Welcome in to another edition of Green with Envy Quick Hit Style. We're coming at you fast and furious here on our YouTube channel. One topic, semi-daily or daily, depending on how we feeling. You know, it all just depends. And today I got my guy Adam Taylor here riding with me. And today we have a really fun topic that we want to get into. We're going to talk about Paul Pierce versus Dwyane Wade. And this all resurfaced because this was an old ESPN debate before. Well, we all know what happened to Paul Pierce on ESPN, right? So it's an old ESPN debate that resurfaced during his appearance on It Is What It Is, hosted by Cameron and Mase. So let's check out the clip and then we'll jump into it.
Put Shaq on my team, put LeBron and Bosh with me. I'm not gonna win one. You don't think?
Oh,
yeah. You got your shit on. You put me, LeBron, and LeBron and Bosh. We're not gonna win one.
yeah,
We're not gonna win a couple.
yeah.
So I'm saying
That's
though.
true. That's true.
So I'm saying though, like who's the better 3-point shooter?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Is he a better scorer? Is he a better scorer? Okay, he averaged more points than me career. I can shoot the three.
He's a better slasher.
I can post up. I can get to the line. Who a better scorer?
See, you know what it is, and I'm totally.
Yeah, it's just he was fancier.
Yeah,
it was just
that's
he
all I'm
was fancier.
saying.
What I'm going to say
Let's
is
break it down.
no. Well, I'm about to give you a props, but because what happened is this.
This is a good topic.
100% good topic because
Wade was better two-way though.
what happened is that Dwyane Wade is flashy. He slashes everything. And what I seen was Doc Rivers say something about you one time. And it was like preseason when y'all practice and do other things. He's like, these young boys come in there and think Paul is slow, think he can't jump, think he's not athletic. And his skill set is so amazing, pause, that he kills them before the season even starts. And they think they're going to come in there and do that. So Dwyane Wade looks more fancy. He dunks, he jumps around, but you have a great skill set. And I'll give you that. And what you made was great points. If you had Shaq for a year, you may win a championship. If you got Bosh and LeBron, definitely don't win a championship.
Like, come on.
Right. So,
come on now.
Whatever. Mason, you was going to say something, Murder?
Yeah,
I don't want this to be a knock versus Wade.
No,
Wade is one of
it's
the
not.
greatest,
It's not a knock.
But I was just saying, like, I think
we in the
that
barbershop.
Yeah,
for a
we
long time,
gotta ask the right
my
questions.
skills went unappreciated because I didn't get to play with a lot of great players.
Yeah.
And then I got to play with KG and Ray past their prime. Okay, if 4 years earlier you put me, Ray, and KG together, you think we ain't walking away with 3 chips?
Right.
That's real.
Adam, who's fancier? Tell me what you think right now. Let's have some fun with this. Paul Pierce versus Dwyane Wade. Where you at?
Yeah, Dwyane Wade gets the style points, right? Like everything Wade did was
You fancier.
yeah, you fancy. It's
Mason's cracking me up. And by the way, that show It Is What It Is hilarious, man.
I've really enjoyed that show.
Oh my! Have you seen the one segment they do where and Cam kind of talked about it? There, it's like pause, and it happens earlier in this episode. I was watching other clips of it where they were asking Paul Pierce about Jason Tatum, and he was like, "Man, Jason Tatum's hard," and immediately Mason Cam go, "Oh, he gonna pause early." He got an early pause.
Like, okay, so Dwyane Wade's flashier. He's a more flashy player. He was way more explosive than Pierce was during his prime when both were in their prime. I agree with what Pierce is saying. Like, Pierce's skill set was more versatile than what Wade's was in terms of, like, he was more of a free-level scorer than what D Wade was. I'm not saying that D Wade was better. I'm not saying that Pierce was better. And this is the argument that I hate, right? Oh, how many rings did he have? Like, let's judge someone's entire body of work over how many championship rings they had. That's soft to me. Like, some of the greatest players in history didn't have a ring. Even modern history, right? If we want to just keep it to the last 25 years, Vince Carter didn't have a ring. Was Vince Carter not elite? Do you know what I mean? Like,
let me push back on it a little bit because I think for me, it shouldn't be the end all be all, but I do think it's a separator, like it's a differentiator, right? And then I do think a little bit of it gets to who you were when you got that ring. And then this is nitpicking, but this is what you do when this is the same thing right now. If you look at the modern NBA and we're trying to figure out who are the top 5 guys in the league, right? Because I say a guy is 8 and I say a guy's 5, there's really not that big of a difference between those guys, but maybe this one guy is elevated because they've had certain postseason success or certain, situations in which they've been allowed to do more. So I think it matters, but I think the context around it matters as well. And I don't think it's necessarily the end all be all. And that ends up in, I think this is where I wanted to go with this conversation, because I think potentially in this convo and in a lot of historic convos, who is the better player and who had the better career are sometimes two different questions.
Yeah, and I think people get those lost sometimes as well, right? Like if you look at Dirk, for example, 1 ring in his career, but he had a ridiculous career. I mean, how many All-Stars did he have?
I
Was
can
it
pull that up here
14
while you talk.
All-Stars or
Dirk had a
something?
crazy amount of All-Stars.
Yeah, but 1 ring, right? I would never look at him and try and disparage what he did. It's the same as like as you said, context is everything. For a lot of Paul Pierce's career in Boston, he just didn't have the
14-time All-Star.
Yeah. Pierce didn't have the supporting cast around him for a long time in Boston. Now, that's similar to what Dirk had in Dallas as well. Sometimes they had enough talent to go on a playoff run, but not enough to kind of see it through. Pierce had that same thing, and I think that's the argument he's making, right? Like, Wade got more rings because Wade had better talent around him for a longer stretch of time. Like, Wade's first ring came, I think, what was it, his sophomore year or his 3rd year with Miami? And that was like, I'm pretty sure that was the Alonzo Mourning year with Miami.
The Shaquille O'Neal. No, Shaquille O'Neal came in. Yeah,
that was
his 3rd year in the league. Yeah.
So you've got that season. Then you've got 3 seasons with LeBron, Bosh, and whatever. Pierce gets 1. I don't, and I think that context means everything, right? Like you look at Damian Lillard. If he doesn't get a ring in his career, it's not because he wasn't great. It's because Portland just didn't figure out how to build around him and give him the talent he needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's kind of my take on it. It's my stance.
No, I mean, listen, I don't think there's a wrong answer in this. I will say, so let me just give a quick tale of the tape of what actually happened. Just a quick snapshot. I'm using Basketball Reference here. So both of these guys are Hall of Famers. Paul Pierce, 10-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA, got a Finals MVP, obviously won that championship in 2008, 98, 99, All-Rookie team, and a member of the 75th anniversary team. Dwyane Wade, soon to be in the Hall of Fame. Not in the Hall of Fame yet, but will be there, obviously. 13-time All-Star, 08-09 scoring champ, 3-time champ, 8-time All-NBA, 3-time All-Defense, 03-04 All-Rookie, also has a Finals MVP from 05-06, and was also a member of the 75th anniversary team. So I love Paul. I think Paul is awesome. I do think the answer here is Dwyane Wade. I really do. And I think both, I said before, I think it's career. And I think it's, who just was the better player? Like, what did they actually do on the court? So let's just start with career. I think Paul's totally fair in his assessment that, yeah, my career might have been different if it has other things. And you brought up Vince Carter. I think Tracy McGrady, Carmelo. I think those are 3 other guys that you could look at. And it's like, all right, who were their Shaqs, LeBrons, Bosches? And they didn't really have that. Pierce obviously got it, like he mentioned, at the tail end where, he got KG and Ray, and all 3 of them were kind of near or at just past their prime, right? But it was collectively kind of the 3 of them plus the ascension of Rondo that made them such a formidable team for, 5 years, which was really probably 2 years longer than they really had as like a strong unit, like they really scratched together those last couple of years. And so I think it's completely fair that like if he had, Shaq and LeBron and Bosh, his career probably would have been different. The one thing that I do think, and this is where I think the context of certain championships you get matters, is I think Shaq, when he went to Miami and was with Dwyane Wade was still the number 1 on that team. Shaq was the bigger name. Dwyane Wade was the best player on that team. Dwyane Wade won the Finals MVP. Dwyane Wade was insane, despite, there's you can go back and there's a bunch of issues with the foul calls and yada, yada, yada. But, Dwyane Wade was amazing. And so he was that undisputed, at least to me, A1 on that championship team. I think when Paul and KG got together, they were clearly the 2 best on the Celtics in that 08 run. And I think KG at that point in his career to where Shaq was is probably similar points of like, if this is the top of the hill, they're here. They're heading down the slope, but they're not too far from the peak. You can still see the peak, but because it can pop up every now and then, but they're not quite at their peak. And like I mean, Paul and KG were more of, I think, maybe equal footing, and maybe I'm giving too much credit to Dwyane Wade on this, but I think part of it was, he was like 24 years old, like he was super young when they had that team together. So for me, like I think Paul does get besmirched a little bit with his career accolades because they're up there. But I do think the answer for me in this particular instance is Dwyane Wade, both from a career, and then I think as who's the better skill set player, that's, I think, is a little bit more debatable. I think I lean Dwyane Wade, which one of my favorite parts of that clip, Adam, was when I think it was Cameron said that D Wade was the better two-way player. And you see Paul Pierce's face. He was just he stopped smiling. He stopped being such a joke for just a minute, where he was like, and you could tell in his head, he's like, "You motherfucker, what you?" You could tell he had those wheels turning.
So here's the thing, right? I think something that's really hard to kind of quantify for me in my head when we're doing these conversations is when we're talking about skill sets, we're also talking about the style of basketball in that era. So this was all before the pace and space, 3-point heavy analytical movement really took hold, where post work has kind of become a driving force towards facilitating analytically good shots, right?
Yeah.
But back then, Pierce could do some work in the post, turn around, hit a fade away. If we're talking about what was a better skill set then, Dwyane Wade all day long. He could pressure the rim. He could penetrate. He could explode after dunk. He fit that era of basketball and era of interior play a lot better than what Paul Pierce did. Paul's like, who had the better skill set? I could shoot the free. I could work in the post. That's more now, right? You can run those 3-point actions. You can put guys on the post, ask them to play their back to the basket and run handoffs or face up and shoot. That's now. I think that for the era, it was Dwyane Wade. And I'm going to be honest, I preferred watching Dwyane Wade play over Paul Pierce just because I like that penetration. It's fancy. It's kind of like so fancy in this instance feels like in the new season of Ted Lasso where you've got it's poopy. It's a bit poopy.
Yeah.
It's fancy. It's poopy. Man, I'm gonna have to say that Pierce is right, but he's also wrong.
Yeah, he's right to bring up the context of which both of their careers played out. But I think the answer to me, who's the better career and who's the better player, it's probably Dwyane Wade. But just so we're clear, I think when we're looking at these guys, like I said, they both made the NBA 75th anniversary team. I think, and I'd have to do like an official deep dive list. And obviously there's a lot of guys from yesteryear that I would have trouble ranking appropriately. But, we're probably looking at Dwyane Wade somewhere in like the, 30 to 40th greatest players of all times. And Pierce is in that, maybe 45 to 55 greatest players of all time. Like when you think about 75 years of NBA basketball, that's not a whole hell of a lot of a difference. So both of these guys had amazing careers. But, I agree with Cam and Mase. This is fun barbershop talk, right? These are the conversations that when you're kicking it at the barbershop or with your boys having a drink and, you start spitting some shit, this is the type of conversations that are fun to have.
I just want to put it out there that Paul Pierce has got by far the better post-career highlight reel.
That is all facts. And and just so you guys know out there are websites that can help you have that type of fun too. Just ask Uncle Paul. He's got the hookup for you.
That's rent a girl for him for a day, y'all.
For a day. Just for a day.
While on a Showtime live stream, not giving a fuck.
Yo, I don't want to talk to Kevin. I want to talk to Ticket. That's what we want to talk to. We want to talk to Ticket too, Paul. That's what we want to talk to as well. But appreciate y'all for joining us here. This is a Green with Envy quick hit. Make sure you are subscribe us on our YouTube page. We'll also be putting some of these up on our podcast feed as well. Most of these are going to stick to YouTube though. So make sure you are following us here and we will have other clips going around on our social medias. As always, appreciate y'all joining us. Adam, this has been a fun one, man. We'll talk again soon.
I want to speak to Ticket.